وسهلا بكل الذين ينضموا للاستماع إلى راديو بلدي، أول راديو عربي أمريكي ويعنى بقضايا العرب في المحور. برامجنا في راديو بلدي كل يوم جمعة من 8 وحتى 9 صباحا مع ليلى الحسيني في بث حي ومباشر عبر wnzk راديو 690 AM. صباح الخير بلدي، صباح الخير لكل مستمعينا.
Welcome to Radio Baladi, the first Arab, Middle Eastern, and American simulcast radio show. Radio Baladi is broadcast every Friday morning on wnzk 690 AM from 8 until 9 Eastern Time on Good Morning Michigan with Layla Al-Husseini. Our call-in number 248-557-3300. And now, stay tuned for the best radio talk show on Arab and American issues with your host, Layla Al-Husseini.
I am Atef Abdel Gawad. Join me the first Friday of each month at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. I will be discussing some of the most important issues and events in the Middle East live on America's Voice of the Arabs. WNZK 690 AM and WDMV 700 AM.
Good morning. The failure of the first Arab Spring almost 9 years ago did not dissuade the younger generation in the Arab world from trying again. In Iraq and Lebanon, thousands of people have taken to the streets to protest corruption, economic hardships, and yes, sectarianism. The recent uprisings in Algeria and Sudan resulted in a compromise and a partial success. The army there still holds the big stick, but at the same time, civilian rulers running the daily affairs of the country. So, what should we expect in Iraq and Lebanon? One big result is clear so far. The peaceful protesters are sending a message. Dictatorship, sectarianism, and presidents for life will have a difficult time to survive. They still exist, but maybe their days are numbered. But there is more. Let's find out about that from our distinguished guests, Ali Imran, managing editor of Views and News, Farah Adnan, an Iraqi journalist, and Jana Salloum, a Lebanese journalist. And let me start from the end. A question for the three of you. What's next? Let's start with Jana Salloum.
Hello, Dr. Atef, and hi to your guest, and thanks for having me today to discuss our Lebanese revolution and to get our voice heard in America. When you ask about what's next, actually there are many possibilities to what's next. There's a crisis, the economic crisis that's getting more and more severe, and the authority is in denial because they cannot absorb what's happening in Lebanon. They cannot absorb that people do not want them anymore. People are changing, and we want to change the whole system. So if we stay in this situation, we might reach a very we might reach bankruptcy and hungry people, and I think that countries should then interfere in the Lebanese situation.
But Jana, when you talk about authorities in denial, what authorities are you talking about? What authority or authorities? In Lebanon, it's a fractured system.
Yes, we have our president and we have the parliament and the government. The government has resigned, and now we are calling, the Lebanese people are calling for a new technocrat government with expertise. But the authorities, I mean the parliament, the former government, the ministers, the president, are still calling for a techno-political government. So they still want to be in the government, to be in control by giving us their experts, for example, for all the sectors in Lebanon. So they want to be and to stay in the authority. The president is not calling for any earlier parliament elections. It should be the next step, actually.
Okay, stay with us, Jana. We'll come back to you. But let me now go to Farah Adnan. And the same question for you, Farah. In Iraq, what's next?
At first, hello, Dr. Atef and your guests. First of all, I would like to say many call the second Arab Spring the protest currently taking place in some Arab countries, including Iraq, but let me to call it revolutionary youth. So, in general, people now in Iraq have no confidence in the current faces in power. Despite the resignations of Adel Abdel Mahdi, the demonstrations are still going on because the demand of the people is clear. A fair election under the supervision of the United Nations is far from the control of parties and blocs, and Iraq is governed by an Iraqi person loyal to Iraq only and feels the suffering of the Iraqi people.
Okay, let me ask the same question. Ask Mr. Ali Imran. What's next, Mr. Imran?
Thank you, Dr. Atif. I see hopeful signs in these movements if we compare them with the 2011 Arab Spring of movements across the Middle East. Now I can see that in Lebanon, we have a very delicate situation. The government wants to continue perpetuate its stronghold through bureaucrats and technocrats, and there is a gap. There should not be a gap. If there is a longer gap between now and elections, that might lead to militancy, that might lead to more unrest, and that would not be helpful for democracy, as we have seen from our first experience with the Arab Spring. As far as Iraq is concerned, there are both hopeful signs and not so hopeful signs. It is a mix of situation there. We have seen that people stood up. They are demanding a right to a better economic well-being, but at the same time, we see there is a big influence of Iran on Iraq. So, and I will refer to the example of the killing of the scholar and his wife in Basra. I mean, this is a very important factor, and there are other factors as well in Iraq. So, at the same time, Sudan and Algeria, they provide hopeful examples, and people should learn from them and follow that. There are young people, there are women coming forward, and they have been, I think, more than 50%. They have been successful.
Jana, in Lebanon, as we know, is there a lesson that the protesters are learning from the first Arab Spring, their failure? Is there any lesson to draw from the first Arab Spring?
Actually, I think that in Lebanon, people have been influenced by the Arab Spring, and that's why it's happening now. The revolution of Lebanon, it's one of its kind, where people decided to let go their parties and went to the streets, calling for one nation, for one Lebanon, and away from the sectarianism system. So what Lebanese people learned is that they need to not to listen to what's being said about the rising up, because all revolutions are mainly faced by scandals, by lies, by flaws. So in Lebanon, they are now facing this by not believing what is said in the media, because the media is also sometimes biased. So I think this is the lesson learned now, that people are not going after any biased statements and false statements, and always one hand together.
You talked about one Lebanon.
Yes.
Protesters are calling for one Lebanon. Tell us
Yes.
about the several Lebanons that you have,
The what? Sorry?
the many Lebanons that you have.
Yes. Lebanese people were divided into parties. For the first time, let's be honest, for the first time, Shia people in Lebanon have decided to go on streets and break the taboo and to call for Lebanon and not for Hezbollah or Amal. So This helped people to believe that yes, something new is happening. Yes, Lebanese people are changing, and they do want a new Lebanon that does not follow. So, despite that, some of the revolutionaries are with the weapon of Hezbollah or against. Despite this, but people want a new Lebanon because they know all parties, including Hezbollah and Amal, are now being represented in the government and in the authority system that is corrupted. So they are all participating in the corruption. They are all participating in all these corruptions, and they do know now that it's not only about the safety of Lebanon and the weapon of Hezbollah. No, this time it's about our living situation because we cannot trust people. Authority here is always asking countries for money to make a new country for Lebanese people, and then we don't know where the money is going. So we do not trust what the government, what the president, what the parliament are doing. We do not trust our leaders because now we are in big debt. Now we are in a very, very extreme, severe economic crisis, and it's all because of them. So everybody now believes that.
Okay, I'll get back to you to ask you about the other factions in Lebanon and also about tribalism. But let me ask the same question, Ms. Farah Adnan, about if there is any lesson the protesters in Iraq are drawing from the first Arab Spring, the failed Arab Spring.
Yes, as I say, it's the revolutionary youth who don't know a time or place, and the evidence has been protested in Iraq and other countries because the corrupt did not learn a lesson from the first Arab Spring in the sense that the proliferation of corruption, unemployment, and deteriorating service conditions with the control of some extremist ideas under the cover of religion will generate another explosion and the youth will come out again with vigor and determination. For example, the young people currently protesting in Iraq face death, kidnapping, and assassinations every day. But this thing has not defeated them, and they are still protesting in Tahrir Square in the center of Baghdad and other provinces. And I am sure that after 9 or 15 years, if corruption continues and the situation deteriorates, we will also see further demonstrations and other revolutionary youth. So, and I wanted to additional, the protests in Iraq are not led by a party or an external hand, but they are free and revolutionary youth. So there are many of it.
Okay, Mr. Amra, the same question for you. Are there any lessons?
The current situation in both the good point in Lebanon is that they are non-sectarian. This movement, this uprising is non-sectarian, and the people are gathering around one point, which is economic well-being of people in their search for a better economic, prosperous life. And the same goes to Iraq, but there is a sectarian angle as well. Not in the movement, not for the people. It's not a sectarian fight like we had in early part of the decade when Maliki was in power and he hurt Iraq so much with his policies. People are demanding, I think, from across the Iraqi society, people are rising up and they are demanding a better future, a better economic opportunity. That's a good point. But at the same time, there are regional forces that can inflame sectarianism in that country. So the leadership, both local and national, at national level, in Iraq, that wants a better change for people, they will have to demand and focus on the point on the well-being of people. That is the point they have to focus on.
When we come back after the break, we will talk about the most important grievances that protesters have. Stay with us.
Life is a nonprofit charity that's provided humanitarian aid and development to people and communities for over 25 years, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. When disaster occurs here or around the world, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. Please help improve these efforts. Make your tax-deductible donation to Life now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493.
Kashat's Mediterranean Market and Shish Kebab offers a great array of your favorite Mediterranean meals. Meals range from lamb specialties, shawarma sandwiches, seafood dinners, and they offer special big trays of your favorite food, plus much more. Kashat's Mediterranean Market and Shish Kebab address is 32839 Northwestern Highway in Farmington Hills. Their phone number is 248 538 9552. That number again is 248 538 9552, and the supermarket is open from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Kashat's Mediterranean Market and Shish Kebab will definitely leave you satisfied.
When it comes to reproductive medicine, IVF Michigan Fertility Centers are the recognized leaders. With locations in Bloomfield Hills and 5 other cities in Michigan and Ohio, IVF has experts in all aspects of the field. As a founding member of IVF Michigan Fertility Centers, Dr. Nicholas Shama is one of the leading reproductive endocrinologists in Michigan and Ohio. Dr. Shama has performed over 10,000 IVF cases and has helped thousands of couples fulfill their dreams of parenthood. American board certified in both obstetrics and gynecology and reproductive endocrinology and infertility, Dr. Nicholas Shama is a very caring, compassionate, expert physician that understands not only the medical but also the emotional toil of infertility on his patients. When it's time, get personalized care from Dr. Nicholas Shama at IVF Michigan Fertility Centers in Michigan and Ohio. Call toll-free 855-952-9600, 855-952-9600.
I am Atef Abdel Gawad. Join me the first Friday of each month at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. I will be discussing some of the most important issues and events in the Middle East live on America's Voice of the Arabs. WNZK 690 AM and WDMV 700 AM.
Welcome back to Radio Baladi. We are discussing the second Arab Spring with a focus on Lebanon and Iraq. And we have a group of distinguished guests: Ali Imran, managing editor of Views and News; Farah Adnan, Iraqi journalist; and Jana Salloum, a Lebanese journalist. And I would like to ask about the most important grievances that the protesters in each of those two countries have. Mr. Imran, how do you classify those grievances? What are the most important grievances in both Iraq and Lebanon?
The pervasive corruption is the biggest challenge, and people realize that a lot of the troubles, like denial of democratic rights, like absence of economic opportunity, and access to better living conditions like education, health, and other facilities, they arise from corruption of the elite of the government. So, in the case of Lebanon, it's a very important moment. There's a moment of they have to look into the issues, straight. They have to take on the challenges head on. They have to be very realistic to respond to the demands of the populations. There are issues of merit, and there are issues of representation, and there are many other issues in this. And then it will take a very, very sensible approach by the leaders of this movement and all the civil society. And they will have to be very careful not to let this opportunity slip by or go away and address the real issues. In Iraq, it is the same question, but in Iraq, things have been very confusing. Apart from the corruption and the absence of governance in many, many key areas of life, there has been an unrest, violence, and on the Iraq, which experienced so much trouble after the war, and with the rise of ISIS and all those troubles. It is really a very big moment for Iraqi people. And again, I would emphasize the importance of one leader or a group of leaders and that who should come forward and rally people around some of the core causes, which should be economic well-being and a better future for Iraqis.
Farah, what do you think about the most important grievances for Iraqis right now?
Dr. Atef, there is many challenges in Iraq. Here I will also speak as a young woman living when I was a little girl in Iraq and still. From 2003 to the present, Iraq has been dominated by a wave of waves of corruption. So that corruption is controlling in all parts of the state. Because of corruption and muhasasa and sectarianism among the Iraqi people emerged and succeeded in dividing them. And in terms of terrorism and what's happening in the western and northern provinces and the kind weapon is not in the hands of the state with the kidnapping, assassinations, and pressure on the freedom of the press, and more importantly, successive governments in Iraq themselves recognize these problems and work investigations, and people have been boring of these investigations, which no longer work. So the Iraqi youth have come out, and their demands are clear: holding the corrupt accountable and holding early elections to form a government consisting inside the Iraqi people, away from the authority and control of the current ruling parties and blocs, because the Iraqi people now want a homeland where they live with dignity, away from muhafasa and sectarianism.
Jana, what about Lebanon? The grievances in Lebanon.
I would second opinion, Farah and Mr. Imran. First of all, it's we have people who are living in tin houses, are dying of hunger. People who cannot get to hospitals, who are dying at the hospital outside the hospitals because they have no securities. Unemployment have reached around 35%, and now during the revolution, it has reached 50%. Some people are laid off and being laid off, and others they are cutting their salaries to half. Our currency is now ranging between 1,800 and 2,500 LBP. There's shortage of liquidity. People are not able to buy their food, and there's a garbage crisis. There's suppression. There are non-stop increasing taxes for nothing in return. We have horrible infrastructure. We have very high prices for commodities. We have great pollution. In fact, it's the corruption that is leading to all what I'm talking about, and the quotas, because you would find since Michel Aoun came back to Lebanon, and since he has become our president, you would think that this is our own country and not Lebanon, because all the high positions in the state are for our own family. So there's something not right happening in Lebanon, and the revolution just showed off the reality of what's happening in Lebanon. And actually, I want to add to this that we have now around 5 people who have committed suicide in the past week due to our condition. They cannot buy food to their children. So we are reaching a very, very severe situation in Lebanon.
Let me now discuss the political structure in both countries. And I want to know from you, the three of you, whether that structure is a solution or is it a problem? What I mean by the political structure is, if you look at both countries, the division of authority in Lebanon and Iraq is based on sectarianism. Like, you know, you have the speaker in Lebanon is Shi'i, the president is Maronite, and so forth. In Iraq, the same thing. The prime minister is Shi'i, and so forth. So let me start with Mr. Ali. Do you think this? Obviously, at the beginning, this was like presented to us as a solution. But what do you think? Is it a solution or is it a problem?
It's a challenge, I would say, in modern times, because in Lebanon, if we look at Lebanon, because it's a unique case, there are three populations, and it's a very sensitive issue. They will have to the leaders of the new leaders of Lebanon who come forward, they will have to resolve this, address this. There are issues of marriage as well. At the same time, they have to keep a very fine balance between giving representation to all the groups and all the segments of the population, and at the same time bring about a government which really is capable of delivering. So you have to have a justice system. You have to have. I think the answer to all this is very fair elections which take place regularly, and there is accountability. Now the ball is in the court of people. But once people vote a government or a party to government to power, it is then that the task of really the challenging task of taking the nation forward and nation building and addressing the very tough issues like fuel prices, the cost of living, and to address corruption goes forward on the basis of the complexion of the population. And in the case of Iraq, I think it's again the somewhat similar situation. Not exactly the similar situation, of course, but these are different population complexions. But Iraq has to do a lot. In Iraq, somebody has to some leadership from all groups have to come forward. They have to talk to the people. They have to vault over their affiliations. They have to think large in the national considerations and national terms to appeal to people, to respond to the demands of the people. I think this is my understanding.
And Farah, what do you think about the political structure? Is it a solution or a problem?
There is two sides. The one side, unfortunately, currently in power, don't hear the clear demand of the people. So now here is a struggle between the blocs to name the prime minister according to Muhafaza, because everyone knows that the Speaker of Parliament must be Sunni, President of Republic Kurdish, Prime Minister Shi'i, and the people don't want it and even want to change the constitution, which imposed Muhafaza. On the other hand, because of the violation of human rights in Iraq and the internet discounted and the pressure of press freedom, kidnapping, assassination, the Security Council session in Iraq was clear. Genevieve Blaschart stood with the people, although the people were reproached to the United Nations because it was delayed in this meeting because the bloodshed, all of them young people, was a great warning to those present in the Iraqi authority. The good thing, the more united the people will achieve their demands more quickly. And the group of the protesters in Iraq against the correct has made the international community move towards the country at the beginning of the change. But I say, on the correct side, I don't think they will get out of Iraq easily. And if they insist on it, it means more bloodshed and the pressure on press freedom, kidnapping and assassination. And there will be chaos. And there are who try destroying the demonstrations and taking them out of their peacefulness and intimidated them, including what happened yesterday in the cases of protesters in the Tahrir Square, and therefore the international community will intervene with measures greater than the ultimatum. On the other hand, the Iraqi people want to achieve their aspiration for a united, free, and prosperous Iraq, and that their land shouldn't be an arena for settlement accounts.
Jana, when we come back, I will ask you the same question after the break.
If halal is important to your family, you can trust that Miramar will offer not only the highest quality halal products, but the best tasting and healthiest foods that can be placed on your family table with confidence. Miramar is the first and oldest halal certified food brand in America, serving the Arab and Muslim community, and offers a wide range of halal food products. Check out Miramar's halal food selection today by visiting Miramar's exclusive distributor, Ziad Brothers Importing at www.ziad.com.
When you're looking for the best in optical care, Dr. Iman Nakash is your doctor to see. With years of experience and thousands of successful procedures performed, you can trust your eyes to Dr. Iman Nakash. See Dr. Iman Nakash and his professional staff for your eye care needs. There's 2 locations to serve you. In Hazel Park, call 248-336-3937. 248-336-3937. In Rochester Hills, call 248-299-3937. That's 248-299-3937.
Rakma Worldwide Aid and Development provides humanitarian aid in several countries, especially in areas inside Yemen, Gaza, Syria, Lebanon, and Jordan, in addition to others in Africa and around the world. Rakma Worldwide provides food baskets, container shipment, medical supplies, mental health care, education, orphan sponsorship, soup kitchens, and more. Go to rakmarelief.org or call 248-990-4247. Any amount donated to Rakma Worldwide will go to sustaining many lives. Call now 248-990-4247.
I am Atef Abdel Gawad. Join me the first Friday of each month at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. I will be discussing some of the most important issues and events in the Middle East live on America's Voice of the Arabs. WNZK 690 AM and WDMV 700 AM.
Welcome back to our discussion on Radio Baladi. We are discussing the second Arab Spring with a focus on Lebanon and Iraq. And before the break, we were talking about the political structure in both countries, Lebanon and Iraq, that is based on sectarianism. And I wonder whether the structure is the solution or is it a problem? Jana Salloum, what do you think?
Actually, I would think that in Lebanon, let's talk about Lebanon experience. We had civil wars in Lebanon, and the civil war leaders have used the Ta'if agreement in 19 to put the sectarianism system and to link it to the political structure. So we have the main foundation of Lebanon's political structure that is based on sectarianism. It's not a fixed ground, and we can say that the history proves in Lebanon, in Iraq, and in other countries that when you link sectarianism to politics, you only have corruption. And the civil war leaders in Lebanon have used sectarianism system to always try to tease their people and make them divided and to be able to control the whole country. So the solution here is not what we have now, but the solution is the civil state, which is the big demand of the revolution now.
And Ali, if we look at both Iraq and Lebanon, what, in your view, do you see any differences or similarities between the two countries in terms of the movement, the protests, the grievances, the changes? What are the similarities? What are the differences?
Dr. Atef, the similarities being the same that people want. If I were to sum up, not only in Lebanon and Iraq, but across the Middle East and North Africa, I think that if we were to describe these uprisings and these movements, people are fed up with the status quo in their countries, which has failed to deliver. They want democracy, number one, economic opportunity, and dignity, because they are changed times. Now it is the age of social media, the internet. Young people who were kids when the first Arab Spring happened, have now grown up. They see everything on the internet. Why other countries are making progress? Why don't they have those rights? Why don't they have access to opportunity and success? And why can't they have the same kind of facilities and climate to progress and prosper? So the underlying reasons are the same: the high cost of living, the corruption, and there is no recourse to people's problems. But of course, there are differences in the, as you pointed out. There is a difference in the governance systems. The parliaments, I think, when they are elected, they will have to find a way forward for in both these countries, a way forward, a way which responds to the aspirations and wishes of people, and which really delivers because for far too long people have been denied these rights and these opportunities to progress. And secondly, I would also like to draw your attention, if it's not off the mark, and the international community will have to be on the side of the people, and not like Arab Spring, the first Arab Spring. When people were ignored, when aspirations of the people were not respected, they were not supported really. And now is the time, if the entire region wants to have stability and a better future, people will have to have their grievances addressed. They will have to have their opportunities to progress.
Ali, you are not happy with the international reaction. So, what do you expect to see?
It was so heartbreaking. In the first Arab Spring, we saw young people in Tahrir Square and in Syria. They just wanted democracy. They just wanted equality, rights to access to education, health, progress. But they were not supported. And in a way, Obama presided over this unrest in the Middle East, in the Arab world. And now there is not much clarity here in Washington as well, except a couple of things. But the international community, including the United Nations and the countries, in powerful countries within the Arab world, they will have to sacrifice. Will have to respond to aspirations of the people, because these movements are not limited or restricted to one geography or one country, not within the boundaries of one country. It is definitely, these are going to spill over. People are listening to one another. People want the same things for themselves as elites in these countries have been having for a long time.
Farah, do you see any differences or similarities between Iraq and Lebanon in terms of the demonstrations?
Yes, the situation in Iraq, I think the situation in Iraq is similar in Lebanon in terms of muhafaza and sectarianism. So whenever the Lebanese people are united, their demands will be met more, and therefore, I don't think the correct people in Lebanon will leave power easily, as I said before, in Iraq. So it will certainly be dragged into chaos and interference by the international community.
And Jana, what do you think?
I think that I would second opinion both guests actually, but I would add to that we have also our Sab'a and Khashuba borderlines. We have Hezbollah weapon. Our location is more sensitive actually than other countries, and I think this is what makes us different from others, and this is what makes us wonder if it's gonna work this revolution or not, because we don't know what the external countries are planning for us.
Farah, you heard Ali talk about the international reaction and how unhappy he is with that reaction. What do you think?
Yes, I agree with him about it's the time of the change. And when I told before you that the process in Iraq against the correct has made the international community move towards the country is the beginning of the change. And all of you, we saw the Security Council session on Iraq was clear. And Janine Blaskar, special representative of the Security General in Iraq, stood with the people. And as I said before, although the people were reproached to the United Nations because it was delayed in this thing, because the bloodshed of their young people was a great warning. But this represents in Iraq authority, but I think in this time there is a time of changing in Iraq and either in Lebanon and either in Iran.
Yes, Jana, the U.S. government recently released frozen aid, military aid to Lebanon. Is that enough?
Actually, I don't think it's enough, because Lebanon has been there are sanctions on Lebanon just because we have Hezbollah in the country and we have weapon of Hezbollah. I think that everybody is fighting Lebanon because of Hezbollah. This is very, very sensitive. That's why we don't know what's gonna happen next and what are the plans for Lebanon.
And what is the ideal situation in your view? I mean, The Hezbollah is an armed militia, but it's also part of the government. Is that right?
They are playing two roles in the country. One of them is accepted by most of the Lebanese people is when it's facing the external, when it's facing Israel, and when it's saving Lebanon from any surprising interfere. But on the inside, internally, they are part of the corruption of the country. They are part of the authority. They are part of the government. They also are being part of the muhassasa and Shia people who are on the roads. Most of them say that they are with Muqawama, with the weapon against Israel. But if we want to look to the future, expecting to do reform and new reforms in the country after the evolution, a technocrat government. With the new government, we cannot accept any Hezbollah in the new government because we don't want anyone from the system. They say kilon yani kilon, which means everybody means everybody, and Hezbollah is included. So
Farah,
in the
yeah, go
future,
ahead.
yes.
Go.
So in the future, Lebanese people do not want Hezbollah to be part of the government, but Hezbollah think that if they're not going to be part of the government, it means it's a weakness for them, and they do not want to show that.
Farah, when we come back after the break, I want to ask you and also Jana and Ali about what Lebanese Iraqi people think about Iranian roles in both countries when we come back after the break.
Life is a nonprofit charity that's provided humanitarian aid and development to people and communities for over 25 years, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. When disaster occurs here or around the world, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. Please help improve these efforts. Make your tax-deductible donation to Life now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493.
Are you going to start a restaurant or grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Naji Abood at 734-744-9796. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Naji Abood now, 734-744-9796. New Concept Products and Design, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. New Concept Products and Design, new location, 31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia. Learn more at www.newconceptproducts.com. Call Naji Abood, 734-744-9796.
If halal is important to your family, you can trust that Miramar will offer not only the highest quality halal products, but the best tasting and healthiest foods that can be placed on your family table with confidence. Miramar is the first and oldest halal certified food brand in America, serving the Arab and Muslim community, and offers a wide range of halal food products. Check out Miramar's halal food selection today by visiting Miramar's exclusive distributor, Ziad Brothers Importing at www.ziad.com.
I am Atef Abdel Gawad. Join me the first Friday of each month at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. I will be discussing some of the most important issues and events in the Middle East live on America's Voice of the Arabs. WNZK 690 AM and WDMV 700 AM.
Welcome back to our discussion on Radio Baladi. We are discussing the second Arab Spring with a focus on Lebanon and Iraq. And we have a group of distinguished guests, Farah Adnan from Iraq, Jana Salloum from Lebanon, and Ali Imran, managing editor of Views and News. And my question now is about the Iranian role in both Iraq and Iran. So let me first take a general view from Ali What is your assessment of the Iranian role in both countries?
Now, that is very important question. Perhaps one that will the unrest in Iran in the last week. That is one of the biggest developments that have taken place in the region in the last many years. So, Iran has openly supported Hezbollah and other proxies in the countries. Am I getting through? My voice is clear.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. And then because we have to remember that it's the Iran which created Hezbollah in 1980s, and now there's no secret of this thing that Hezbollah is supported by Iran. But now with the unrest in Iran and the sanctions that are squeezing Iran and people's disaffection and dissatisfaction with the status quo, the question to see is, will Iran be able to support Hezbollah and interfere and influence events in Lebanon and Iraq the same way as it has been doing in recent years? In the case of Lebanon, it's clear, and not only Hezbollah not only gets finances but also arms. In Iraq, Iran can have its way anyway. It can influence a population, or it can influence a group of people, some leaders in power, and then it can adopt other ways, including inciting violence. So Iran has a very important influence on developments taking place there.
Farah, what do you think? Give us your assessment of the Iranian role in Iraq.
Certainly there is a clear Iranian interference in Iraq and Lebanon, and as I said before, the situation in Iraq similar in Lebanon, especially about Muhammad and sectarianism. But Dr. Atef, let me say, I want to talk here in general. The issue of intervention of neighboring countries has become clear to everyone, and even the people in these countries demanded their government to pay more attention to the affairs of their country, more than interested in another country. This is the proof that the people themselves are concerned about what their government is doing. But what is happening in Iran? We started the same is true in Iran. I think the protest will continue in Iran because the sanctions by the U.S. are big on this country, and I don't think that the youth will bear more, and maybe the international community will intervene as well.
But Farah, we heard part of the grievances in Iraq was their protest, the Iranian intervention in the country. How big a factor was that, and is it real?
As I said before, the situation in Iraq is very difficult. There is more militia parties and blocs there don't hear the clear demand of the people. So as I said before, the more united the people will achieve their demands more quickly. And as I said before, and the proof of the protest in Iraq against the corrupt has made the international community move towards the country.
Will the protests in your country have any effect on that influence, on Iranian influence in Iraq?
No, that's I say that what I said before, that there is clear Iranian interference in Iraq, especially about some militias in Iraq. So that make more difficult in Iraq, and as you say, that more protests in Iraq, making her about they're hungry about on a fire in many buildings, and the militia and the parties that belonged to Iran.
Okay, Jana Salloum. Generally, how does the Lebanese people feel about the Iranian role in Lebanon?
Well, we all respect Hezbollah weapon when it was directed to Israel, but we cannot ignore that Iran has plans to create the Islamic State in Lebanon through Hezbollah, and history can prove that. So now that Hezbollah are trying to show through very often appearances of Nasrallah who is the so-called the master in Lebanon, to just try to ease people and tell them that everything will be okay. We are with you. We are with your cause, and they are showing a good intention. I believe that this good intention should be proved by after having the UN fixing Shibha and Kashuba situation and the borderlines with Syria and Israel. They should show good intentions and join their weapon to the Lebanese forces, and then we can say that Iran has no control over Lebanon. But for now, they do have control through Hezbollah.
How do you explain the alliance between the Maronite president and the Shi'i Hezbollah?
Well, we all know that Michel Aoun, when he was in France, he has so many interviews blaming Hezbollah for everything that is happening in Lebanon and saying that Hezbollah should give away his weapon. But once he came to the Lebanese to Lebanon, he turned his position, and they were all together on one table because Iran has big control in the country, because Hezbollah has weapon in the country that it's used to control the country, and they are backing up on family, they are backing up the presidency, they are backing up Gibran Basir, who is actually playing backstage everything that a president should be, the role of the president in Lebanon. So we all know that it's due to the power of Hezbollah that the president, Michel Aoun, and Gibran Basir have the power in Lebanon.
Now I want to conclude from where I started with the question, what's next? Let me put the question differently, and I want to start with Ali. How do you see the future, Ali, in general, not just in Lebanon and Iraq, but in the Middle East region in general? Any changes you foresee for the future?
This is a mixed situation. I think people, the average people, regular people who want to go about their lives successfully, they want to achieve their dreams. They are very careful. I think they have avoided recourse to violence, and they are, I think, they are more peaceful. But at the same time, especially in let's say the example of Sudan and Algeria, but the regimes, the governments that are in power everywhere in all of these countries in the Middle East and North Africa, and they are very entrenched forces. They will not give away their powers easily. There will have to be a consistent movement, and that the people will have to learn lessons from the first Arab Spring, in which I think the whole populations were pitched against each other in some instances, and the powers that be, they divided people, and then they imposed, they used brutal force, and there was so much bloodshed. But now I think there should be at least, but I don't know what happens next, because there is a regional rivalry. There are regional powers that interfere in the affairs of the countries. Look at the way Egypt was propped after Sisi took over. He was financed. And then we have Iran on the other hand. And we just talked about Hezbollah and its influence in Lebanon. So, I mean,
okay, Ali, let me quickly move, because I'm running out of time. Let me quickly move to Farah. What are you optimistic, Farah, in general?
Yes, there is the time of the change, and everything remains in the hands of the people, that the people chose the truth. This is what is required, and chose a mistake. They must learn from their mistakes and fix the mistakes to achieve the desired vision. And I want to say, for example, in Iran, the young people in these demonstrations raised the slogan, our strength in our unity, and said that sectarianism has dead in this demonstration. And that's a good thing, because the more united people, the desired change will be achieved more quickly. So we saw solidarity from some Sunni-dominated provinces, and even Kirkuk and Baghdad, young people of different religions and nationalities demonstrated. But explosions took place in Kirkuk with kidnapping of activists in Anbar. And
thank you, Farah. Thank you, Farah Adnan, our Iraqi guest, Jana Salloum from Lebanon, and Ali Imran. Thank you all for your contribution. We'll see you again the first Friday next month. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.